All righty, well, I guess with that, we'll go ahead and get started then. Welcome to the May 7th Prosper Trail Improvement Project virtual public meeting. Thank everyone for getting on. It looks like we've got almost a couple dozen people in, so that's great to see. Real quick, I just want to let everybody know that we're going to handle this kind of like a council meeting. So at the end of the presentation, you'll be able to ask questions via either the video conference, or if you called in, a couple of people who have called in, you can ask through the telephone. To request to speak, you'll click on the participants at the bottom of your screen and raise your hand. And then at the end of the presentation, our moderator will acknowledge you and allow you to ask your question. If you join in by phone, you got the meeting ID number is shown on the screen. It's 880-6910-8324. And to request to speak, you'll enter *9. And the meeting moderator will acknowledge your request and that's for you to ask your questions. And if at any time you have a problem, can't get in, you can call our helpline at 972-569-1191. And we've got someone there who can, who's manning that phone and can assist you if you're having a technical problem. Real quick, I'd like to start with some introductions. I see we've got Councilmember Ray on the phone, joining us. I don't think there's any other council that I've noticed in. I don't see any. And we have Rebecca Zook, who is our new Executive Director of Development and Infrastructure Services. We have Hewlin Webb, who's the Director of Engineering Services. Pete Anaya, who is the Assistant Director for Engineering Services and Capital Projects. Myself, Lindy Higginbotham, as Senior Engineer and Project Manager for this project. And then we also have the consulting engineers from Half and Associates who have been on the design team for this, Dennis Attire and Jeff Roberts. So real quick, we'll go through. The intent of this meeting is really just kind of an informal meeting to discuss the project, kind of plan construction activities, and a chance for you to ask questions to kind of how it impacts you, and give a little recap for you. You know, why are we doing this project and how did we get to this point? As you're aware, Prosper Trail is a 2-lane asphalt road. You've driven it, you've noticed that there's some patchwork that has to go on, as you can see in the picture there. And redoing the roadway as an asphalt road would be a little over $1 million and still requires an ongoing maintenance and pothole patching. The concrete street provides for a longer life, and it'll be a while before major maintenance is required. Prosper Trail is on the town's thoroughfare plan as a 4-lane divided roadway all the way through, so kind of similar to the section from Preston to Coit. And at this time, the 2 lanes that are existing is able to handle the current traffic conditions. So if some of you remember back in November of last year, council went back and after looking at everything, went and we revised the plan to do from a 4-lane configuration to just build half the roadway at this time. And constructing 2 of those 4 lanes right now allows the town to not only improve the roadway and give you a better riding surface on that through that stretch, but also the ability to stretch the town's resources to fund other projects around town. So I'm pretty sure everybody's aware, since kind of refresh the memory on the limits, it's from Coit Road to Custer. And the scope of this project, as we mentioned, is improving those 2 lanes rural asphalt roadway to half of the ultimate 4-lane divided arterial roadway. So what does that include? That includes concrete curbs and gutters, underground storm drainage instead of the bar ditches for the southern portion, which is the portion we're building. And then in the future, when the northern portion is constructed, there'll be future enhancements to the drainage system on the north side. It also includes the construction of some concrete sidewalks and trails near the intersections kind of at Coit and Custer to make that accessibility to those developments that have already been put in and to get you to the businesses and connect in with the trail system. So the project schedule, kind of right now, utility relocations will begin soon. They've got their projects in design and out for bid. So there's a few power poles that need to be relocated, that kind of thing. And the town is currently working with 4 property owners to acquire some necessary right-of-way and easements. So we hope to have both the franchise utility and the right-of-way acquisition and the easements completed in the next few weeks. Not the utility relocations in a few weeks, but get them started. And then roadway construction, our project should begin late summer and can be completed mid to late fall of 2021. And the engineer's estimate for the project for doing just half the roadway is roughly $6.22 million. So just want to remind everybody what the ultimate look of this kind of roadway is going to be. Normally we have 90 foot of right-of-way, which means you have a 12-foot parkway on either side of the road for landscaping and sidewalks and trails, and then 2 lanes of traffic in each direction, and a wider median in the middle that allow for future turn lanes into the subdivisions. This section of Prosper Trail is a little bit different. You guys, Whispering Farms, you have an added trail right-of-way or trail easement on the side, and down at Whitley Place, you've got another pipeline that goes through there. So, and there's actually a little bit more right-of-way through here. So instead of the 12-foot wide parkways, we're looking at, kind of varies a little bit between 13 and 17 feet up to 22 feet for the normal right-of-way conditions. And then an additional 35 feet at Whispering Farms and 70 feet down a little bit farther at Whitley Place. So just kind of go in a little bit, go through the sections. So here's Coit. You can see we're going to fill in this little piece of sidewalk here in front of the businesses, and in front of the businesses here. It'll allow you to come from General Creek out onto Prosper Trail, connect with the trail system that takes you down to the businesses towards Preston. And then once Coit has improvements, you'll have a trail system that runs north and south on Coit and down to the new big park that'll go in down at Coit and First. Kind of give you a little better visual. I know if you're like a lot of us, you know, it's great seeing it on a picture, but sometimes kind of, well, what does that mean in the real world? Kind of did a little, see if I can zoom in a little on this part. So the new edge of the driving surface of the new main lanes, tried to kind of figure out where that would line up, and it lines up roughly in line with these drainage structures. So you'll have a kind of, if you're standing out in the field trying to figure out where. So you can see right now, here's the edge of the pavement. Here's the drainage structure. So that's where the new lanes of traffic will be. And then you can see through here, here's the new lanes of traffic, and here's the trail system through here. Oops, sorry. And then with the extra buffer, so the lanes of traffic are still 50 to 60 feet away for the main lanes of traffic from the property lines for the subdivision. And then going through the next little section, it kind of continues through. You can see we've got turn lanes into the subdivision, which will assist with access in and out. And then new approaches into businesses through there. And again, as you go down the street, here's the next opening of the entrance. Still kind of lines up with the drainage structure, so you can see where the lanes of traffic will be in relationship to what's out there now. As we come down to Preston Country Lane, you'll see that we're actually realigning that so that it comes in at a 90 degrees to the roadway. So you'll have good sight visibility to get in and out of there. We're also adding a turn lane onto Preston Country, and then the roadway comes down. The existing bridge, it was determined that the bridge is structurally okay to stay, and as a cost savings for right now, the decision was made to leave the existing bridge. So right through here, this will transition over onto the existing bridge, back over, and then transition back to new roadways right after that. And then down towards Whitley Place and the school. You see we've add a turn lane into the back entrance into the school. It'll help with access into the elementary school, and then also a turn lane onto Escalante Trail. And you can't really see it on this rendering at this scale, but there's also, if you notice, this is a little wider through here. So while we're not putting in all 4 lanes of the concrete right now, we are putting in a wider section through here, so there will be a turn lane to come down and turn left into Escalante Trail if you're coming from Custer. And then it's not reflected on this drawing. This is actually didn't catch, this was an older version. We'll be filling in the sidewalk piece by the school, and also the sidewalk piece down to Custer. And here's just a zoomed in view with that turn lane. Here, if you're standing out in the field, there's 2 manhole lids. And then down a little farther, there's an outfall for a head wall. And the roadway surface lines up pretty much in line with that to kind of give you an idea. So the manhole one is right out here, kind of in the middle. The other one, I couldn't get a good shot that had both of them in there. It's right off the screen in that picture. So again, you can kind of see where the existing pavement is, and it's not that far in to where the new lanes will be. So I just wanted to go through a few questions that are kind of the standard, frequently asked questions that we have. This first little batch I've kind of lumped together, so I'm not going to read each one individually because they all kind of deal with the same thing of how does this impact, my home, my business, entrance to my subdivision, you know, my property directly. You know, we all take a lot of pride in our homes and our subdivisions and the landscaping and everything, and we want to know kind of how is that all impacted. So that's what this first section is, and really so you won't be denied access to your home or your subdivision or your business. That doesn't mean that at times there won't be some driveway work or some construction activity that has it narrowed down to one lane. You know, one in, one out as a shared lane or as just a one-way. Kind of depends on the situation and what the activities are and what the other options are for you to get in and out. Then there are no anticipated impacts to, you know, your water service, your phone service, anything like that. We're not planning on shutting down the water. That doesn't mean that during construction activities an old line won't be, you know, jostled by construction and water is temporarily impacted, and that doesn't mean that there won't be anything. It just means we're not planning on it. We've tried to take all precautions for that, but you know, as you know, sometimes things just happen when you start digging and get close to stuff. Grass and trees, landscaping in general, all areas that are currently kind of in front of an HOA or a business where you've got irrigation and it's a nice grass already, will go back with sod. The other areas, a little more open, the ditches and everything will go back with hydromulch, and they will be watered and maintained until they're established. Tree removal, there's a handful of trees that are impacted throughout the project by the Lighthouse Church. There's one lonely little tree that's right next to a drainage structure that's in the right of way that'll come out. In front of the golf course, there's one or two trees that, when they were planted and how they've grown now, are actually more out in the right of way and will be impacted with it. The intent is that you don't just show up one day and have a tree missing. If we do have to remove a tree on your property, or not on your property, but in the right of way adjacent to your property, we'll look at like if we can mitigate that, if we can plant something back in its place when we're done. Obviously, we don't want to plant it over an existing sewer line or water line, so it may not be in the exact same spot, but if there's something impacted like that, we'll definitely take care of it. And then this is kind of a big one, especially for the HOAs. You've got irrigation out there, keeping those entrance features taken care of. You've got stone walls, out there. Lighting, landscape lighting. How do I handle getting something repaired if you believe it was damaged due to construction activities? Call us, email us. We can make sure everybody has all the information by the end of this meeting. Give us a chance to get it fixed. You can usually get it done faster and sooner than you having to try and call somebody, get them out there, get it repaired, and then try and figure out how to get reimbursed for it. So by all means, if you encounter something that you think was damaged due to construction activity, by all means, let us know first. And then this next one, who is the contractor? What are the hours of construction? Are there detours planned? Really looking at more of the construction aspects. So right now, we do not have a contractor on board. As I mentioned about the utilities, once the utility work is completed and we have all the right-of-way acquisition, then we'll put the project out for bid. We will then in turn, once we get the contractor's bids in, we'll evaluate them, look at their references. Are they well suited for the project, and get them on board. So there will be a quality contractor on board. Hours of construction, Typically hours of construction Monday through Friday are 7 to 7. And then on the weekend, Saturday is usually more of an 8 to 5. That doesn't mean that if they're in the middle of finishing a task that, you know, at 7:01 they're going to be gone, especially as during the summer hours where we've got a little more light. But from the noise factor of the big equipment and everything, those are the hours. And I know in some previous discussions, some people had brought up kind of why is this going in as concrete instead of, you know, staying asphalt, and some questions about the noise levels was brought up, and we do just want to say we did look at that for the soil conditions that we have here, and for the traffic loading that there is on this roadway. There's really not a big difference between the two. And from the noise standpoint, there's really only, we looked at a few studies that Marquette University in Wisconsin and Michigan had done, along with the Federal Highway Administration, and somebody else was involved and it's escaped me, I'm sorry. And the noise difference is really only about 1 or 2 decibels difference between the two, which is negligible to the human ear. So things like sound walls and different concrete surfaces and asphalt treatments are really only valuable at high speeds and more of a highway setting than on a roadway such as this. I wanted to go through, I did have 3 questions that were emailed ahead of time, and I will go ahead and read those exactly as they sent them. First question is, a Preston Road to Coit Road project was an absolute nightmare. I would bet there were at least 60 plus days during the week when not one person on site, and not because of weather issues. The project was just periodically abandoned for weeks at a time. What process/oversight have been implemented to ensure the extension from Coit to Custer will be run in a much more efficient and productive manner? Who can we hold accountable at the city level for managing this project? So, well, that's me. I wasn't with the town for most of that project, so I really can't speak for the contractor or what conditions, or if there were conflicts with utilities or issues with the contractor. I don't have all of that information for you, but what I can tell you is that at least for this project, you know, we looked at it again, gone out in the field, worked with utility companies to try and have everybody relocated ahead of time, make sure that we can account for as many of the unknowns as we can. And I've got been with 2 other cities over the last 20 years, and I've been through a few of these, and I know it's not pretty, and you're probably going to be tired of me in the construction about, you know, halfway through it and ready for it to be done. But I promise when it's done, it'll look great, and you'll be glad that it's been better. The next question is, who is responsible for rebuilding the entrances to the neighborhoods that are damaged by the road construction? Homeowners or the city? Who paid for the rebuilding of the entrances, sidewalks, retaining walls, etc. at Prosper Lakes? So again, don't really have the information on the last one, but I can tell you that any damage to your facilities, to the entrances, to the landscaping that are damaged via this road construction project is back on the town / the contractor, depending on the conditions. But we will get it taken care of. The HOAs and private property owners are not expected to have to repair something that was damaged as part of this construction. So again, that goes back to my statement earlier. If something happens, you know, by all means, reach out to us. Let me know like I said, my contact information's coming up, and just get in touch with us and we'll get that taken care of. And then the last question says, from the CIP report, quote, staff presented to Town Council on November 12th, 2019, a contract amendment to design 2 of the ultimate 4 lanes, which was approved. Assuming this means that only 2 lanes will go in now and 2 later. Why are we not doing the entire project at one time? Let's get this project over with all at once. I'm sorry, at one time. As I mentioned earlier, the town, since the road the 2 lanes can handle the traffic loading that we have right now, the traffic volume, it made more sense from a financial standpoint to be able to share the money with so many other projects. As I know the mayor mentioned in his town address that, reiterated how fast the town has grown just in the last few years. And that from, I think it was 2013 to 2017, we saw over a 50% increase in population. So we are one of the fastest growing areas, and roadways and infrastructure are key components to that. So doing just half of the roadway right now allows us to spread that money and make the best use of everybody's funds without leaving the areas high and dry. So
Lindy,
with that,
Lindy, before you jump over to the last piece there, I did just get 3 other questions. We'll go ahead and open that up to the panel to answer those questions, and then you can finish up your presentation, then we'll open up to the group. So
sure.
One of them was what is the realistic time frame from start to finish? And this had to do with the construction on the last project taking too long. I believe earlier you said we're looking at a late start, or it's going to be late summer start, and around fall completion of next year.
Right. Yeah, we're looking at a late summer start, and in all reality, I'm going to tell you it's going to be roughly a year. You can try and nail, and we won't know specifically until we get the contractor on board. But this is a 2-mile roadway project with a lot of drainage work. It's going in some. So you've got to reroute the traffic, and actually, let me see if I've got that shows on. Oh, hang on. I have that. That'll assist a little better in answering that. It's kind of the steps that we need to go through. So let me find page 15. Sorry to sidetrack and derail on you a minute, but I think this will help a little. There we go. So you can kind of see, sharing this new picture yet or no?
Yeah, we can see that. It's kind of small, but we can see it.
Okay. Okay. So the reason I say a year is there's a lot of different steps that have to take place to get us to that point. So right now, this little dash line is the edge of the existing pavement right here. And this shaded gray is the proposed new pavement. In order to construct all this area right here The existing pavement edge ends here, right above the numbers where it says 65. And this section is a dashed crisscross. That's existing pavement. This solid crisscross above the numbers is what we have to construct first so that we can have traffic, a lane of traffic going each direction in this area so that we can then have the barricading and work down in this area. So first that has to happen. So that'll take a little bit of time to get that constructed and the barricades put in. And we have the excavation, and then we have the pipe installation for all the drainage structures that are going in. And then once you get all that in, then we can have the actual construction of the concrete and the roadway and the entrances and everything going through there. So plus, as I mentioned before, we'll have some utility relocates that'll be starting soon. So from the time they start, the time we get this going, for us to do all these activities, it's really a year-long process. So I know some people will, try and say, well, it might be 9 months, it might be 10 months, but in all reality, just think of it as a year. So that by fall of 2021, it'll be in, it'll be done, it'll look great. We'll have some time at the end of the heat of the summer to get the grass established as the temperatures start to cool down in that early fall, and we'll be through with it then. So I would plan on that for your time frame.
Okay. Next question says, will the bridge over Wilson Creek be used until ultimately 2 new bridges are built in the future? And I believe, Dennis, you may have to chime in on that. I think the design for the ultimate 4 lanes will still use the existing bridge. We'll just have to add 1 new bridge.
No, Heelan, unfortunately, that bridge sits too low.
Okay.
It's subject to high water levels, so it's got to be raised up. So we will, in fact, have to rebuild 2 new bridges and demolish the existing one when that occurs.
Okay.
That's not with this project. So
That'll be the future project.
Correct.
Okay. And so will the existing asphalt road be removed and replaced with grass until future lanes are built, or will the median be built now?
So I think you're saying, oh, no, it won't visually look like a median. It'll just go up to grass. So we have cross section. Oh, actually, we can use it on this one. So this median, actually, let's go to, so this median right here with the curb, so this will all be grass when all said and done. We're not going to build this and then have a curb that looks like anything over here, because the construction activities will put this back to grass. So I hope that answers. This will just all be grass. And then you said there was another?
And a couple other questions, just some lengthy concerns. Again, how are we going to make sure the time frame is being held to on the project? The comment that was made earlier on Prosper Trail, the project from really Preston over to Coit. Mm-hmm. And on that, I can say that the council has been gracious since that project. We've had additional staff hired that provides a whole lot better project management on our end. Like Lindy said, we go through a pretty rigorous reference process now to make sure that the contractors are properly vetted. On the previous project, even though the contractor was a reputable contractor, they just ran through quite a bit of financial problems on their end that really delayed them from completing the project. On that end, we were just happy they completed the project. At one point, we thought that contractor was going to default on the project, and we were going to have to stop and restart with a different contractor. So some things been put in place to better manage these contractors moving forward. So and also part of that is this project we've implemented what we call A+B bidding, where the contractors that solicit their proposals, they tell us their cost, but they also tell us what the time's going to be for them to do the project. And that's part of the evaluation process. And if they don't meet their milestones that we put in the contract, there are liquidated damages that are assessed to the contractor. So we're trying to put everything we can in place to address the concerns of getting these projects done in the time frame that they're allotted. One other question, just really concerns of why we're starting it right before school starts up. And essentially, like Lindy mentioned, just the process of getting the right-of-way and utilities, that's going on currently, really puts us, the earliest we can start is at the end of the summer. And being a year plus project, we're going to impact the school no matter when we start. So our goal is once it's ready to go with construction, or excuse me, the right of way and the utilities, we want to get the project going so we can get it done as soon as possible. So it minimizes the impact in the long run.
And if I can speak to that as well on the school, I've had several projects where we've impacted the school directly. I mean, we're paving around all sides of them. We've had large pipes put in right in front of the school. And once we get a contractor on board and have a little bit better idea of their actual schedule, I'll schedule a meeting with the elementary school to look at, what is their traffic conditions, which way do they come in, where do they come out, how do their buses run, and work with the school district to make sure that we've tried to account for those key times when people are dropping off and picking up their kids and the buses are coming, to try and limit the impacts that we have to the school. Unfortunately, with the school being right next to the roadway, there's no real way to 100% avoid that. So we'll definitely work with the school to try and do things like get driveways paved, at spring break or at Christmas, or, different things like that, and minimize those impacts at the school.
Okay. Well, if you will, just go ahead and I'm still getting some questions here, but what I'd like to do is let you go ahead and finish the contact information. And then at that point, we'll open it up for the questions. And just so everybody understands, if you'll go to the bottom of your screen once Lindy gets done, there's a ability to raise your hand. At that point, I'll be able to acknowledge you and announce you so that you can ask a question. But first, Lindy, if you don't mind, let's wrap up the contact information.
Yeah, definitely. So, where can I find project updates? So we've got a few different venues that you'll be able to do to see kind of where we are, what's going on, what the status is of the project. One being the city website. So from the city website, if you'll go to government and then click on engineering, you'll get to the main engineering page, which landing page that looks like this. From there, under construction updates, we will be adding a section here that'll give a place for an update of the project as we go through, and include any planned lane closures or main impacts. And there's also for the times when we truly have a big traffic switch or a major impact, if we need to get the word out that, a certain entrance into a subdivision is going to be closed, or a certain section is going to be one way for a few hours during the day while we're doing an activity that we really can't take place another way. We also have the avenues of social media, which is through Twitter and Facebook and Instagram that the town is on. And I also want to let you know that if your HOA or if you personally want to kind of make sure that you get those updates directly to you, if you will email me your contact information and requesting to be added, we'll have a list and send out those updates when we send out to mass media, to the social media outlets. We will also email you directly, so we can easily add you to that. So here's the big page. Here's the one to remember. So I'll zoom in so everybody, in case you have a little monitor like I do, you can make out all those words. So again, me, Lindy Higginbotham, I'm the senior engineer and the project manager for the project. The direct number is on here, 972-569-1188. That'll come right to me. And then my email is shown as well, which for folks with a long last name, it's a little difficult the way they do their emails, but it's Lindy_Higginbotham@prospertx.gov. So save that, bookmark it. You don't want to have to type it every time, trust me. And then Carlos will be our construction superintendent. He'll be the one out there in the field day to day, working with the contractor. And then if for some reason you can't get one of us, or if you feel that one of us isn't responding to you in the manner that you think, or you've got a different question, or just kind of want to share something, or maybe you think we're doing a great job and want to share something, you can also just email the department in general, which is just engineer@prospertx.gov. And with that, we'll open it up to the rest of the questions.
Okay, again, I know we've got some written questions, but we'll open it up if those ones that are writing in also would like to speak to the panel. Again, if you're on the Zoom call, you ought to be able to go to the, I believe it's on the bottom where you can raise your hand. And then I will be Ken Scheller. I'm gonna, hope I said that right. Let me put you on here to talk. And I believe we can hear you if you should be unmuted.
Okay. Yep.
Thanks, Ken.
Yes, my name's Ken. I live in Winter Meadows, so I'm trying to get some information on the commercial truck traffic and the potential restrictions that we have. We've got an issue now on Coit Road where the commercial truck traffic has increased dramatically, and I'm just trying to figure out if this is gonna route even more traffic up through Coit, or whether we're gonna restrict this and have them go back on 380, or the way they used to go. They used to go Preston Road. When that became congested, they scattered all over the place.
Yeah, Ken, I'll answer this. This is Hewlin. A few years ago, the police department put together an ordinance, took to council to make really all of our local streets, Coit, Prosper Trail, a no-through truck route. So we do know that there's going to be times when commercial trucks need to make deliveries in certain areas, and they have to go down our roadways. But by ordinance, they're not supposed to come down Coit or Prosper Trail. It really becomes an enforcement issue. And the police department. I'm sorry. And for us working with the police department, they've asked us to go out.
The big earth-moving trucks, the 18-wheelers are just piling down both Prosper Trail and Coit. So.
Correct. Yes. So
I've been working with the city. We got a good plan. We're going to pull some people over, and because nothing's really got there. Last Monday morning there were 47 commercial vehicles in an hour that came up Coit, and probably even more than that on Prosper Trail.
Yeah, well, like I said, we're working with the police department. We're actually putting out some additional signage to try to, educate those trucks that may not be familiar with that. and the police department, at least for the local businesses, are going back out, and every few months they have to go remind these local companies that the truck route restrictions. So we'll continue to work on that. Feel free to contact us anytime, and we'll be glad to let the police know to try to ramp up that enforcement to discourage that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, Ken, anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
Thank you. Let's see. I don't have any more hands raised. Still got about 21 people online. All right, I've got another one here. Mary Ann Lobb. I'm going to unmute you. Hopefully, try.
Oh.
There you go. Should be able to talk now.
Yeah, I was just wondering about, this is Kevin Lobb. We live in Whispering
Okay.
Farm. I was wondering about the medium. Is the medium not going to go in on this first project, or what's the status on that? The medium in between the lanes. How are they going to do that? They're just going to put
Yeah,
in
there's not a median with this. We're basically creating, if you look at the other side of the roadway, we're creating the 2 lanes. So it will function kind of like it does now. There's no median in between them.
Okay. When are you going to do the second phase? Is that based upon the traffic flow or the traffic load? Is there any ideas on that for the next 2 lanes to go?
Right, for the north side. Keelan, do you know on where that falls on the bond program or in the CIP project?
Yeah, I think currently I'd have to go back and look and see if that's part of maybe one of the latter projects that we're looking at in the 10-year window. So like Lindy said, it's amazing that just because of the density out there, the 2-lane asphalt or even the 2 lanes of concrete are able to handle just the traffic that's out there and even what's projected. But so we feel it's going to be several years out before the need would arise to go and build the other 2 lanes.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any other questions, Kevin?
On that,
No, I think, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I know, the question was brought up about doing it at one time versus the other. And when the north side is done, the impacts to the south side will be a lot less than they will be this time, because they'll be constructing the majority of that roadway in what is just the grassy area. So the new north portion will be able to go in without a lot of impact on the south side. So it's not like you're going to have to go through the whole, mess of all the traffic and all the detours and everything when the north side gets done. It'll go in a lot easier.
Right. Okay.
That makes sense.
All right.
All right.
Kevin.
Thank you.
All right. Let's give me a second here. Got John Borden. Let me get you on here. I think you're live. John, can you hear us?
Great. This is John Borden. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
John Borden from Whispering Farms. Thank you for that last note. That understanding the traffic pattern while it's going in is helpful. I joined at 6:40, so if you covered this already, I apologize. The question I have is really around construction management and safety. I personally pushed out a couple of ladies out of the mud over at Coit and Prosper Trail previously. The signage was not very good, particularly early on. And I think people who aren't familiar with the area really struggled in that intersection. So More of a comment, and unless you have any feedback on what you might do differently this time.
Well, as I mentioned before, I wasn't with the town when the other one was going on, so I don't know quite all the barricading looked like at that time. But I can tell you, as a driver, I get very frustrated when I can't tell where I'm supposed to go, and when the barricadings are there that they don't need to be, and when the sign says lane closed and it's not closed. So that's kind of one of my own personal pet peeves, so to speak, is that I should be able to drive down the road and not have to second guess where I'm supposed to go. So that's always one thing that I stay on the contractors with, is making sure that if the lane's closed, you know, it says it's closed. If the lane is not closed, that the signs are laid down or bagged, and making sure that the public knows where they're supposed to go. So hopefully you won't encounter that with this section.
John, let me unmute you. I'm sorry. It looks like
I
you're.
appreciate that. It was really less around the inconvenience as it was about safety, particularly around the intersection. So I appreciate you taking that into consideration.
Okay. Any other comments, John? Okay. Let me see. I got Rebecca Strong. Let me get you unmuted here. I believe you should be good to go now, Rebecca.
This is Mike Strong. Rebecca is sitting here beside me, but residents of Whispering Farms. Question pertaining to the final grade of the finished project. We noticed from the last project, from the completion of Prosper Trail between Preston Road and Quate, the grade of that particular project changed dramatically in certain sections. What will be the grade in comparison to what exists today on this final project? What changes, aside from the earlier comment from the engineer regarding the eventual replacement of the section over Wilson Creek being too low? What other changes will be made from the grade standpoint?
It depends on where you are through the project. Let me see if I can't access. I don't know if I have the cross sections handy. Jeff or Dennis, do you remember right offhand? I'm trying to pull up the cross sections to look at.
I'd mention two things. In regards to the previous project, when we come in and we do one of these road improvements in a location where it was previously an asphalt road, we have updated criteria. So the places where the roads crest, we generally tend to try to flatten those out, and same for where the road goes through a dip. We have to do those much more gradually for the higher design speeds that we're using. So you will end up with some grade differences just due to the fact that it's got a little bit more safety built into the design speed of the roadway, and we're trying to maintain a longer sight distance for visibility. Secondly, the road ends up converting an open ditch system into a enclosed storm drain system. So when we set the grade for the roadway, a lot of times we have to lower it so that the adjacent properties that used to drain to the ditch that was there, they now have to be able to grade the drain over the curb and into the concrete pavement so that it can be intercepted by the roadway inlet system. So in general, I would say we're going to be lower than existing grade, but we try to set it really close to where when we get to the right-of-way, we have a nice smooth grade between the right-of-way and the curb so that, one, the sidewalk can be built, and we minimize impacts to the adjacent property. Now, in some cases, we can't do that, and we've had to obtain easements and or call for fence removals and replacements in the plans because we just can't, with the safety criteria for the roadway, we just can't make it match everything exactly at the right-of-way line.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. I don't see anyone else have any questions?
Don't have any questions, just a few brief comments, if you don't mind, Hewlin. This is Marcus Ray. I'll say, thanks first and foremost, Lindy, for putting this together and team for putting the information. It's really important that we communicate these updates and changes. I did see a few questions in the question and answer board regarding timing and notices. I know we strive to, for public meetings like this, get the notice out at least 24 hours in advance. We obviously, looks like there was a comment about a link being out there delayed. So these are things we can absolutely learn from. There is an HOA meeting that is held with the HOA presidents on a quarterly basis. And as far as communicating with the various different HOAs, I think that's something we can do a better job of. I'll say, from my own personal experiences, we learned a lot from the Preston to Coit expansion, what to do differently, how to improve upon that. Hewlin mentioned the A+B bidding, which is part of that improvement process. There are things that we are going to be looking at very, very critically with this. Timing is very important. Lindy, I'm so excited that you're going to be on this project to help, champion that completion and staying on schedule. I personally back up to Prosper Trail, and so I when we redid the pavement that was once asphalt to concrete on the Prosper Trail side from Preston to Coleman, it was a much different town than we have today. I do expect that we'll have a much better experience. I know the town has been very good about working with the HOAs to make sure that any damage that's done to HOA entrances are repaired. And we've seen that with Coits, and we've seen that with Prosper Trail. So I just want to encourage those residents that are on the call that have those concerns, that those will be addressed. And really excited to see this underway. There was one question about why concrete versus asphalt, and maybe depending on the timing of the joining, but the asphalt would cost about $1 million to redo, and we would have to keep on redoing that. Concrete is a little bit more expensive, a lot more expensive when you're doing large stretches like this. Funding these types of projects are, and trying to balance that with, other growth areas of Prosper come down to budgeting. And so I would say be engaged in the budgeting cycles, be mindful that, there may be, different funding mechanisms we'll have to look at in the future, because there's a lot of infrastructure we're needing to address given the large growth. But just want to thank you all for being in attendance and being engaged citizens. It is what makes Prosper fantastic is the engagement we have and the residents that make that up. And, thank you town staff for your efforts on this to make sure that this road, this expansion hits the marks as far as timing and budget, and we'll be able to get to and from safely. So with that, I just thank you for your time.
Okay, I have someone raise their hand here. Allow them in. It says Mary Jane Journey.
Yeah, this is Bill Journey. Just a quick question. You may have already talked about it, but are there any sidewalks planned in this first phase?
There are some sidewalks to kind of fill in the missing pieces to get back to my other screen.
Okay.
So from Coit over to Winbrook Lane on the north side, we'll be filling in that stretch of sidewalk. so that the residents can come out, get out to Coit, and continue down to the trail that goes down to Preston through that route. And then on the south side as well through the businesses. And then eventually when Coit gets redone, I believe the master trail plan has another trail going north and south on Coit. So that'll allow those to come out, get out onto that. And then as the rest of this develops, on the south side, you've got the trail already. And then on the north side, when we do the next phase with the other additional lanes, we're filling the sidewalk developed section through there as well. But there aren't plans to put sidewalks through, like in front of the golf course, where there's nothing to really walk to or from, or in front of the equestrian center or anything like that, where things aren't developed yet.
So we're in Preston Country, so you're saying there won't be any sidewalks from Preston Country to either direction?
Correct, not currently. The right-of-way and the roadway and everything will be designed to put them in, but we won't be putting them in with this project.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can talk about, since you're talking about trails there, Lindy, the question came in about, what about bike lanes?
This roadway is not designed with separate bike lanes. It's just 2 lanes of concrete. So the Parks Department will have their hike and bike trail master plan, which is separate from the roadway. I don't know, does the town, do we have any on-street bike lanes?
No, yeah, currently there's not any designated bike lanes on any of our roadways. I know there's some cities that do have them, and so, but currently Prosper does not have any designated bike lanes, on-street bike lanes.
Anybody else?
Then a follow-up to that one looks like also hiking lanes, as are in the master plan. Yeah, I think you touched on that as far as putting the sidewalks in adjacent to the developed areas, and then the parks is going through a hike and bike master plan update now. Actually, they had a meeting last night. So I would assume ultimately somewhere down the road, the Parks Department would want to try to make different trail connections along all the various roadways.
They are, and we're looking at that to assist them with on Coit Road and some of the other projects that are down the line, and considering that, working with parks on that. So again, not at the moment, but it is on our radar, and the roadway being designed, as I mentioned in the earlier slide, we've got some wider parkways through here. So instead of a standard 12-foot parkway, we've got, in some cases 17 or even 20 feet of parkway. So there's plenty of room to put that trail, hike and bike trail, in the future when we actually have something to get to. Right now, there's really nothing to hike and bike to. You would kind of just end at the grass. So we'll save that for a project when we can put in a start and a finish. Any others?
No, let's see. Well, no other typed questions and no hands raised.
Okay, well, I'll just go back real quick to this in case anybody didn't get the information down. You can, if you get your cell phone handy, take a screenshot or whatever. And all this information is also on the city website. On that page where I was showing you how to get to the construction updates, you'll see here under the engineering page, Here's Hewlin. Here's Pete. If you could scroll down, I think I'm like 2 more people down on the list. So if you don't have it handy or misplace it, you can always come to the city website as well. So I guess if there's nobody else
No,
going twice.
thanks everybody for joining.
All righty. Thanks, everyone.